Umkhonto weSizwe Party had a massive and impressive turnout today. You can't deny the numbers that they pulled. So they had their event at Orlando Stadium, and the stadium is a 40,000 seater stadium, and it's as close to capacity as you can expect. And the first thing I want to say is that it's impressive because of the age of the party. At this particular point, you do expect the EFF to be able to fill up Orlando Stadium, FNB Stadium, Moses Mabhida, whatever the case may be. They have the capacity. They've been around for 10 years. And by this point, they should be able to do that. But what Zuma has been able to do is that he has built that same caliber of capacity, not exactly the same in terms of volume, because I think the EFF can still pull more numbers, the ANC can still pull more numbers. But the fact that this is a party that was launched in December of 2023, and just 5 months later, not even exactly 5 months later, is being able to pull out these numbers, that's impressive. It's well organized. It looks as if all of the boxes were ticked. And that's something that we have to give credit to MK. Remember, when we make these observations, it's not that you support MK, to be honest. It's just that you are being honest about what you see. We can't not see what we are seeing. Even if you think about Patriotic Alliance had a good event in the Western Cape. Their event in Gauteng province was a disaster. Gayton was being overly ambitious. He was not ready. But he learned from his mistakes. He organized an impressive event in the Western Cape, right? So that's number one, that it's impressive considering the age of the party. The other thing that needs to be pointed out and said is the following, that there's been a question around the support base for Jacob Zuma. It's been very clear to many people that, well, Umkhonto weSizwe is going to get a lot of support from KwaZulu-Natal. But the question then was, can they get support in other provinces? And they've been able to prove that, in fact, they can pull support from other provinces. And this performance in Gauteng province, which is the most populated province and has the most number of registered voters at over 6 million, it now shows that no, Zuma is not running a provincial party. He actually is running a national party, and he's able to compete for votes not only in KwaZulu-Natal, but also in Gauteng, also in Mpumalanga and other provinces. That's something that's critical, and I think that's why they chose to have this event 11 days before the election, Orlando Stadium, right in the heart of Soweto, to show, no, we actually can pull those numbers, and we can pull them in an important province such as KwaZulu-Natal, right? Now, juxtapose the age of the party with the age of Change Starts Now. Change Starts Now launched at a relatively the same time as Jacob Zuma's party, around about December, and they raised, we know this from the IEC donations and declarations, Change Start Now raised 35 million rands in the last quarter, and they dropped out of the election. Can you imagine that? They were not ready. They were not able to get signatures. They were not able to mobilize. I went to their manifesto launch and they were not ready. And this is somebody who is coming out of business, who's got the backing of billionaires, and he's got significant support. He was not able to do it. So it's not a small thing what Zuma did. I just thought the Change Start Now thing was important to point out, that politics is not easy. Someone had 35 million, failed to get the number of signatures required, failed to get the infrastructure rolling, failed to find a message, a niche message, failed to execute on the manifesto. So that's something that's worth considering when we are now thinking about what's happening with this particular political party. Now, the final point that I want to make is around who is the Zuma voter. Who is most likely to vote for Umkhonto weSizwe within the electorate? Is it an ANC supporter? Is it an EFF supporter? Is it an undecided voter? I am of the view that the Zuma voter is predominantly an ANC voter. Why? Number one, Zuma still say that he's a member of the ANC. So by saying he's a member of the ANC and that he's teaching the Ramaphosa faction a lesson and disciplining them, all of that, it presupposes to the audience that he's making the value proposition to is that if you're a disgruntled ANC supporter, this is your home. Come to me. We will work together. We will teach these guys a lesson. That's number one. Number two, I think that the EFF voters have got points of disagreement with the Jacob Zuma people. EFF was the one that did Ubaba Tutuzane, they were the ones that held him to account. And I don't think that EFF hard supporters support Jacob Zuma. So I think that what is happening with Jacob Zuma is that he is taking votes away predominantly from the ANC. The polling suggests that Zuma is taking away voters from EFF, or the analysis that has come around the polling has been suggesting that. I think that is blatantly incorrect. From my reading, my discussions with EFF supporters, I've not seen EFF supporters shifting to MK, but I have seen ANC supporters who I know personally shifting to Umkhonto weSizwe because they feel like what was done to Jacob Zuma was cruel. They feel like there was a vindictive agenda against Jacob Zuma, and they've never fully, some of them, supported Mr. Ramaphosa because they view him to have not implemented conference resolutions. They view him to be somebody who used money to win the conferences, and as such, they are sour. Some people still wanted Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma to be the presidential candidate, and because they're disgruntled, they support Jacob Zuma. I've not seen a lot of EFF supporters shifting. So I think that Zuma is predominantly getting votes from ANC members. Now, where do I think that they will end up? Do I think that they get over 10%? I still think that number is too high. EFF was hot. They came in at 6. COPE was hot. They came in at 7. I think that Umkhonto weSizwe is definitely getting a lot of attention in the media, on the streets. Jacob Zuma is a big brand name. He has proven that he's an experienced campaigner. He's proven that he can raise funds. He's proven that he can eliminate spies within the party. All of that he has demonstrated. But I don't think that still, like 10% is a high number in such a contested election. You've got Patriotic Alliance who are doing well in the Western Cape. I don't think that they can get 10%. Can they get 5%? Yes. If they do get 5%, that becomes very difficult for the ANC to form a coalition of its own terms, because then that pushes them towards 40. Because let's say that they were at 46, 47 before Zuma launches Umkhonto weSizwe at their best performance. After they roll out everything, banners, T-shirts, sign NHI, sign Bella Bill, all of those things, Zuma brings them down to close to 40. And I think this is why you've seen all of the stunts and tricks trying to remove Zuma from the ballot. We've had 4 different court cases now, including the Constitutional Court. We've had accusations of signing ballots, signing, nomination forms fraudulently, all of that. But I think that's as a result of a real fear that exists within the ANC strategic cabal that this guy actually can take out 7% of our vote when we need it. So this event that was hosted by Zuma, by MK Party rather, at Orlando Stadium, I think is a strong show of force. Final thing I'm going to talk about is, do stadiums matter? Do these events matter? They do actually matter for a variety of reasons. Number one, it's a show of force. It's a show of force, and as a result of being a show of force, it actually builds momentum. It builds the confidence of your volunteers, your supporters. It also helps people who are skeptical and on the fence, thinking, do you guys have a chance or don't have a chance? That's it. It's also good to test your mobilization capabilities right before the election. And I think that's something that is very useful. So people who think that rallies don't matter are actually not understanding the political environment within a South African context. Yes, you campaign on social media, that does matter. Yes, you campaign door to door, that does matter. Yes, you have adverts, you do media, mainstream media, that does matter. But a large part of the campaign game within the South African ecosystem, you have to do a stadium, you have to do it well, you have to do T-shirts, you have to do them well. Those things matter. Those things are part of the game. And people who underestimate that, I think, are really trying to downplay things that are obvious. If you can't fill up a stadium, you've got no chance. But if you can fill up a stadium, you do have a chance. You send the right message. You build momentum among your support base. And that's something that I think is quite critical. So that's my view. What do you think? Have you been following the events at Orlando Stadium? Have you been following the activities of the MK Party in any space, shape, or place? What are you seeing? What are you experiencing? What do you think is the prospect of the MK Party in this election? And as a bonus question, do you think that Jacob Zuma actually wants to go to parliament? Do you think that in everything that happened, with all of the court cases, all of the stuff that's yet to be decided, do you think that Umkhonto weSizwe once, Jacob Zuma himself, not Mkhonto weSizwe rather, wants to go to parliament? Do you think he wants to go back there, or do you think he just wants to have an important strategic position to block Cyril from the presidency and perhaps to negotiate something in case he doesn't have a positive outcome in his other cases which are coming up, like the arms deal trial, which now has a date and is going to happen next year? Are you a supporter of the MK party? Are you ANC supporter? Are you an EFF supporter? Are you DA supporter? Let's have a conversation. I'm curious to hear what you think. Till the next time.